Hello and welcome to... Fuck's sake.
Welcome to Fuck's Sake with Chris Wilson.
Hello and welcome to CineMortuary, the podcast where we review mostly shit, horror, sequels, remakes, maybe a prequel in there or two. I'm Chris Wilson and I'm joined by Mr. Dave Walker.
Hello!
And Mr. Robert Yeoman.
Well, hello, Chris Wilson.
Ho ho ho. And this week we're going to be reviewing a true cinematic classic. It's Halloween. But not that one, the other one.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yep. I'm afraid that already we're into Rob Zombie territory.
Oh, you fucking cocksucker. I should come over there and skull fuck you, you little bitch. Why don't you sit on my dick? Oh, wait, you can't get it up, wheelchair bastard.
Welcome to episode 3.
But wait a minute, Dave, you talk like this, but... should it be Rob that's ranting at me?
Yes. So,
let me explain why I chose Halloween to begin with. It's because I decided to troll Rob.
Thank you, Chris. So, for a little bit further context, the original Halloween is my favourite film of all time. And so, it was my idea for my sins to do this podcast in the first place. And I said, Chris Wilson, would you like to do it? And he said, yes, I've got some really good ideas. I said, great. He said, cool. He said, let's do Rob Zombie's Halloween. I said, fuck you. And here we sit.
Oh, yes.
Oh, dear. So, I guess, shall we contextualise Rob Zombie's Halloween?
I think we better, just to point out before you start contextualising, I've never actually seen this film before we decided to do this podcast.
Jesus.
I really was trolling you. But shall we start, instead of the background of Halloween, shall we start with your original experience with Halloween 2007, directed by Rob Zombie?
Okay, you fucker. Yes, we can. So, we were all at university together in 2007, when this film came out. And I knew it was going to be bad at the time, so I thought, no, I'm not going to go to the cinema to do this. I'm going to do this 2007 shit and download it.
You thought you were safe because it wasn't out for another 2 months.
Yes.
And fucking octopus dickhead here comes running down the stairs and says, Rob, there's a work print of Halloween out.
And I said, okay. Can I get it off you? And you said, yes. And I said, thank you. I will watch this alone.
Because me and you sat in the living room waiting, just waiting for it to happen with the volume down on the TV.
Yeah, so these two wankers set me up 10 years ago with this film and they've done it again. So I sat there in my student bedroom watching Halloween. And it didn't go down too well at the time. It went down the opposite of well, actually. It went down like the proverbial shit sandwich. And I guess the best person to explain my reaction might actually be my colleague to my right, Dave Walker, who can probably explain better than I what he witnessed.
Yeah, well, it was what I heard for starters, because you're a very animated and vocal person when you're moving about a home space. And me and Wilson quite enjoyed sitting in the living room and just listening to what was going on.
Yep.
So from the room next door, we could hear... Because apparently the music and the titles kicked in just over Michael Myers' face. You thought that was really offensive. We heard your door open. We heard you go to the kitchen, muttering something to yourself. We heard some cupboard doors slam. We thought, right, he's gone to get a Kit Kat. It's serious.
Yeah.
He's got himself a glass of water. Then we heard your door slam. 10 minutes passed. Oh! You had a break halfway through. I think you just came and sat down next to us in silence and then went back to it.
Yeah, I did. I got to the point. I don't want to go too far into analysing it yet, but I got to a point in the middle of the film, which I will flag up when we get there.
Yes.
That nearly broke me, and so I went for an unprecedented second Kit Kat at that point, Dave. And I sat with you two in the front room, stared at the wall for about 10 minutes, and then went back in to finish.
I'm pretty sure you were just drinking some orange juice and just kind of just stuck there at the wall going... shaking your head and mumbling.
Basically, that was it. Yeah, that was it. So that was my previous experience of this film, and I think it's almost impossible to sort of understand my fury or the critical reaction to Rob Zombie's Halloween without understanding the fact that John Carpenter's 1978 original is a masterpiece of subtlety. It's all about a slow build. It's not a bloody film. In fact, there's no blood whatsoever in the original Halloween. Yep. It's all about atmosphere and score in particular, Dave. And
very subversive for its time as well.
Exactly, yeah. It also made quite innovative use of things like Steadicam, which is one of the first sort of signature uses of that particular medium at the time, and that was used for the opening sequence, which became quite iconic.
Yeah.
And the Halloween franchise versus the likes of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street continued in this vein of being a little bit more reserved on the gore front and a little bit more focused upon build. Although this did go to tits slightly in the later films, but that perhaps could be a story for another episode.
Yes.
But yeah, there was always a sort of sense of the Halloween franchise being the sort of slightly classier cousin to Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. And then Rob Zombie.
Shall we get into it?
Let's take a big old dive
into the big pile of shit.
Into the sweary pile of shit that is Rob Zombie's Halloween.
So, we start the film with a great big Michael Myers backstory. As in, it takes up the first half of the film.
Problem.
Literally, we start off with Michael. He's wearing a clown mask, casually kills a rat, his pet rat, I believe. Yep. And then he goes downstairs. You know, he lives in a shithole. And there's his stepdad, I believe it is. I think.
Take that fucking mask off. What are you, a fucking queer? What, you like cock?
No. People don't talk like that.
Yeah. Basically, and immediately we're in like pure Rob Zombie territory because as part of research for this film, I went back and watched House of Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects as well. And if there's only one thing that Rob Zombie loves more than a shithole, it's really shit parents.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, my opening gambit in my notes for this opening sequence was basically just two words in capitals, which is loud noises.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything's loud. There's the sort of required touch of shit rock in the background.
Yes, he loves his needle drops in
He
this
does,
film.
yeah. He has a bit of that going on. Like Chris says, there's just unnecessarily loud and aggressive family situation.
Baby crying in the background continuously.
Maybe I'll choke the chicken, purge my snorkel all over them flappy ass tits.
Good, we'll have a good fucking time.
I will.
I hope she likes cripples.
Bitch, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you.
Oh, I'll get the crutches for you. See what you did, fucking loudmouth.
That's all that fucker does is cry.
Yeah. Which does come back later in all fairness, but I'd rather it hadn't been a thing in the first place. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Problem is, I can see where he's going on a technical level with that. The other problem is that it's not doing what it's supposed to do.
No.
It's supposed to kind of repulse your senses in setting up this horrible, horrible environment in this situation. But at the same time, you just want to turn it off.
Yeah, it does.
You don't want anything bad to happen to these people necessarily. You just can we just not fucking watch this?
I mean, I think he's trying to make it so it can just, Michael, well, spoiler, kills his stepdad quite early on.
Yes.
And I think he tries to justify it in that way. But I think one of the issues I've really got with Rob Zombie, in a way, is that he loves his villains so much, and it just suffocates everything else. And I've got in my notes here, literally 5 minutes 41 in, I feel like I already knew too much about Michael Myers. Especially compared to the original. I mean, I know there's all sorts of fleshing it out. I mean, they did in the original Halloween too, but I've we're not even 10 minutes into the film, and already it's the mystique has gone.
I mean, it's fairly atypical Rob Zombie, and what I think we sort of need to remember is, at this point in time, 2007, it's a couple of years after he made The Devil's Rejects, which was very successful, is Rob Zombie was hot shit in Hollywood at this point.
He was the hype train.
He was. He was the next big horror director. And because of that, he gets a lot of free reign here. And free reign in Rob Zombie's world means fucking fuck. Fuckity fuck. Fuck you, basically. And he makes Michael Myers very almost identifiable. Which psychologically causes all kinds of weird problems, especially for a person who's a fan of the franchise, but also from a moral standpoint, because you've been asked to empathise with a kid who's violently murdered his stepfather, who is a dickhead, but did he need to be gaffer taped to a chair and have his throat cut? Some might say no.
And I forgot, in between that, they build up a 10-minute thing where he gets to kill the bully at school for the sole purpose of, well, I don't know, just to try and make Michael seem more sympathetic, which does seem a bit fucked up, considering he's quite brutal. And, well, at the end of the day, he's an absolute maniac.
I mean, if you watch these, if you watch the original and this one side by side, I'm going to try and do one half of this podcast where we look at it as a remake, and then another part where we try and see if it has any of its own merits, because I think we can tear it to the bone as a remake, to be honest. But if you do it side by side, one of the most important things about the original film and its setting, Haddonfield, is that it's the 70s idea of the subversion of normality and suburbia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Wes Craven was doing with his films, he liked to fuck up the American nuclear family, and in some cases actually making them nuclear mutants, sort of thing. This one is a normal street, normal house, normal family, and the kid just stabs his sister with a knife. That's the whole point of it. That's what's supposed to be scary. But then you get into this one, and you're like, okay, well, now I understand everything. And this family don't actually belong in the place that they're in, because they don't fit everyone that's around them.
No.
Because they're just in this little shithole. Surrounded by suburban rich families.
And I guess that's kind of isolation of a different kind. And I kind of get all of that. And I think that it sort of comes over, but I think it's just so ham-fisted and so forced, and it's in his opening sort of sequences. I think Rob Zombie himself he's got a real internal struggle, and you can see it on the screen.
Absolutely,
because he is a fanboy of the original, but he also has a very specific way that he wants to make films, and those two don't mesh together.
No.
A good example of this is you don't hear any of the sort of signature Halloween theme until about 10 minutes in, and it's really fucking bolted on,
like he forgot to do it.
And it's like it's something he feels obliged to include, but I don't think it necessarily fits with this vision.
It's all, the first half of the film is extremely confused. You mentioned the scene with the bully kid. That shit is so overplayed. Like, you watch any kind of 80s film, like for example, another horror film, The Monster Squad, and it's got a kid getting bullied because he's different and he likes monsters and he's got an AC/DC t-shirt, whatever, like Michael Myers does. Those scenes are quite fun when the bullies get their comeuppance, sort of thing. This is just actually not enjoyable to watch on screen, because I know you can say, well, it's supposed to be nasty, it's supposed to be unpleasant, but a good film, you still gain enjoyment from horror. But this is actually, at this point, I don't like Michael Myers.
No.
I don't have any interest in him. So when they try and paint him later with different colours and try to say, oh yeah, but he's psychologically tortured, it's like, I don't give a fuck, he's an arsehole.
I mean, you're not supposed to identify with him. I mean, there is, throughout the film, there's little pepperings of nice little references to the original. And the first of which is that Michael Myers' mother is a stripper. That is what it is. But the place she's a stripper is a Rabbit in Red Lounge, which is a very sort of niche reference to the first one, because in the original Halloween, there's a scene where Michael escapes and he smashes the car window, drives the nurse out of the car, steals the car, and then sometime later Loomis finds it, and in that car there's the nurse's matchbook, which is for the Rabbit in Red Lounge. So there's little callbacks to that, which is kind of nice, but at the same time a little bit geeky, maybe.
Yeah. And I think like the main issue as well is that for pacing as well. I mean, in the copy I watched, I think again I sort of end up having the director's cut for some reason. But eventually we get to a bit where he kills his sister, like almost under the same circumstance. But they made Rob Zombie's made a really weird choice in that. In the original, obviously, it's all done through the eyes of Michael Myers, whereas this time it's done a lot more voyeuristically, where we see him approaching. For some reason, he decides he's already wearing a clown mask when he decides to pick up the random William Shatner mask that's introduced.
It's a fucking cringe moment.
Yeah, and decides to put that on. Like, why would you put one on for the other? Before you know. So first of all, we gave the mask a backstory as well for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily something you'd do. I mean, I thought the mask in itself looked creepy as fuck on a child. Because it was oversized. But you're absolutely right.
It did, but you know, first of all, why not just start with a Michael Myers mask? But they do it from like a more voyeuristic thing, so you get to like see the satisfaction of him like killing his sister.
I will go in. I'm going to go into more about that later, I think. But I find the film quite unsettling. Not probably how he intended it to come across. Where there's a lot of girls in it who are 18.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the unrated cut, and there's a lot of girls who are 18 in it who are just it's a tit.
Oh yes,
show.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm pretty sure his sister is supposed to be like 15, 16 in this, and the camera enjoys it way too much.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
If you'd done it via POV, fine, that makes sense. That's a character motivation, but this is a director motivation, and it creeps me out a little bit.
It's weird. And I think another thing that speaks volumes is that after he stabs her for the first time, she actually tries to escape. So she like runs out into a corridor. So it's basically like lingering it on, like giving that it feels like satisfaction a lot longer. That then catches her.
Times,
that then catches her, like stabs her a few more times, and that's it. Yeah. But to point out, so in like the original film, this is within the first 90 seconds.
Yeah, it's done and dusted.
At this point, it's in the cut I've got. I think I also watched an unrated cut. 27 minutes. Yeah. So it's taken 27 minutes to get to just that point.
I think the reason behind that, I think, from Rob Zombie's perspective, is that he wants to colour Michael Myers' background much more and explore his origin and why he became what he is. And I mean, I'll come on to this a bit more when we get into the mental hospital side of things. But I think he had to do something that was in a different direction from the original, and I kind of not particularly in this bit, but I think this is just the establishment of that.
It's stuff like that where I get what he wanted to do, and in some ways I kind of praise him for doing that and wanting to have a go at something that is so revered in film history and take it from a new tact. But when you said take it in a new direction, that's what I want a direction. And there's so much kind of backing and forth on where he wants to go with the character motivations in general. It's like, well, I don't know if I like this person. I don't know who I'm rooting for. I don't know if any of this is okay.
I mean, just to point out one more thing from that first little sequence is that there's a really cool freeze-frame panning shot across going to Michael in the back of a cop car.
Yes.
I thought that was a really cool shot, in all fairness. That was probably the best shot of the whole film.
Yeah. I think in the work print that you saw, that shot, is that where they put the title on the screen? Because in the work print, I know that it pans across and then it puts the Halloween title on the screen, and that's when the music originally dropped in the work print.
Yeah, but I'd say it takes a long while for the music to kick in, but I believe you're right.
Right, yeah. I think that's where you lost your shit when you first watched it.
I think that's probably about right, mate.
You just needed a little pumpkin on the in the O in Halloween, and you would have been there.
Oh dear.
Exactly, mate, exactly.
Right, so the next bit of a film is Michael at the insane asylum,
introducing Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
And introducing Danny Trejo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interestingly, now
there we go. 2 or 3 likable characters in the film.
I've got quite a bit to get off my chest about this bit.
Should we just let? I'm feeling that we're going to agree on most of this, but go on.
Now, the sequences in the sanatorium, to an extent, and the way we bring in Loomis is very, very different again to Captain's version, because it's very impactful the way people are brought in the original. It's not everybody has a massive backstory, but we get a lot of exposition of Michael and Loomis's relationship in this particular sort of 15-20 minute sequence, and it's kind of, again, it's done with good intentions, but it's the execution that's very problematic. And this is the section of the film that there's the most things in it that I like about it.
Yeah, me too, actually.
And I think it's a really refreshing take to take Michael Myers out of the context in which we know him, which is again a mask that's, you know, stalking people like a force of nature, and to put a little bit of flesh on them bones. And I do think for large parts of it works quite well, and Michael's slide into becoming silent and, you know, the attack on the nurse and things like that, it shows that he is fragmenting, as Loomis says, and that he is, there is an element of evil within him that's just only going to grow. And I think in the sanatorium sequences where he's still a child in particular, I think that does work quite well.
The pacing, I think, the way all that is put together, is it doesn't feel like it takes as long as it does. And when I remember it in my head, it's almost like a montage sequence that lasts a minute for like a title credit sequence or something like that, because it just breezes past and everything's done kind of like ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. And the progression of character is very organic. Malcolm McDowell seems to slowly get more exacerbated and talks more as the other guy shrinks in and talks less, sort of thing. It's very nicely balanced, very nicely done. That's probably Rob Zombie's best work, if you ask me.
It's up there, sequence. It's up there. It's up there. What were your thoughts on this particular section, Wilson?
Like I said, I quite liked it. I mean, again, I still think it's telling too much about Michael Myers. I mean, I think he should just be more of a mythical beast than this kid who's like got clear psychological problems and all that lot. And they do things like they've got him like in his cell, like making masks. Whoever's given him the material for paper mache and paint, who knows? But I mean, I think it adds nicely to the character, but it's a character I really don't want to get to know anyway. You know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, the Halloween, at least the first Halloween, is all about Laurie, and you know, and what she's doing. I mean, and bear in mind, she's not introduced for a good while yet in this film, you know.
And then it's 20 minutes after she's introduced when you don't even realise who she is.
You just make the connection, because obviously in this time, like 15 years pass, and like Daddy Trevor's still there. Malcolm McDowell then pisses off to go do a book tour.
And which that establishes one of the things that I find most vexing about Rob Zombie's Halloween films. This one's, to a slightly lesser extent, to the sequel, but I think the representation and the way that Loomis is drawn is fucking dire, because he goes from being a flawed but ultimately driven to stop Michael from a sort of like, he still wants to stop him, but his motives are always his own. He's not the stopping of Michael's secondary, in a sense, to him putting himself over as a saviour, or you know, and making his money and lining his pockets, and that to me is criminal as fuck. Like, you know, you're going out of your way to develop Michael Myers as a character that, in a warped kind of way, you're supposed to sort of sympathise with at times. And then you're trying to switch it with Loomis, who basically is portrayed as a fucking hack, who has a go at healing Michael Myers' mental issues, realises he's out of his depth, and then just fucks it off. You know, and ultimately that's very difficult for me to swallow.
It's weird, because like the way when he gives his book talk as well, you know, it's so, you know, this man's like pure evil. It's like, well, probably thanks to you, really, because he wasn't, fine, he killed a couple of people, but compared to how he is now 15 years later, that's sort of on you, because you've not broken through at all to help him.
it's a stiff 180 that they do within the space of 10 seconds, where all the stuff that is in the clinic feels like Loomis is actually trying to do his best.
Yeah.
But he is in over his head sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then he leaves from defeat. But then, straight away, you get this idea of him that he was just trying to make money out of it.
Yeah.
And it's handled so badly. And just that one little cut is a transition between those two scenes.
Yeah.
And it totally ruins what is... I think Malcolm McDowell must have been confused about his performance, because he does Loomis so well before it's shattered, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and in all fairness, it's a bit of a shame as well, because I was actually enjoying Loomis a lot, because I feel in the original Halloween they really don't have time to expend on Loomis a lot. It's just sort of a character in the background is just trying to find Michael and stop him from doing harm, and you don't get to know that much about him, in all fairness.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think they share any screen time in the first one apart until the end, do they?
No. They only come together. The first time they come onto screen together is in the very closing sequences when Laurie pulls off Michael's mask. He identifies him and shoots him. That's the first time that they cross paths.
Yeah. So I mean, I admire the attempt to do something here, but as you say, it's that 180.
Yeah.
It's just a bit weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, moving on from that. Well, sort of iffy on it as well is when it comes to Michael escaping, and the bit with
I'm enjoying the film up until this point. Actually, I'm enjoying that sequence. I think, okay, fine, and then this happens.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, so far I'm not exactly thinking, oh, this film's shit.
Yeah.
But I didn't like this next sequence where you've got one of the security guards there who's a bit of a hick, and then he brings in his friend to basically go fuck one of the female patients because if she cries blame, you won't be able to know about it, and
they choose to go into Michael's room.
Yeah, but I think my problem with this, it was a bit Kill Bill Volume 1 for me.
Yes.
With hospital bed, I felt like it was almost plagiarised.
Yeah. Well, this particular sequence, when
you're going to use the C word again as well.
No, I'm not. No, this sequence where the whole attempted rape goes on and Michael escapes is my cliche moment of the week.
Yep.
Oh,
right. Because now I'm going to drop the C-bomb. The contrivance involved.
Sorry, listeners.
In them choosing Michael's room, who, by the way, is a fucking unit at this point, right? He's a beast. So why would you choose that room, the guy that's 7 foot tall and is clearly a beast? Why would you put yourself in that position? You just wouldn't. It's stupidity to the nth degree, and it's overcomplicating and over analysing every situation that a character gets into. Like, there has to be a whole bunch of reasons why Michael Myers escapes. He can't just be like in the original, the fucking fire alarm goes off, and so all the patients have to go out and evacuate, and he fucking jumps on a car and drives off. There's nothing wrong with that. There doesn't have to be a whole convoluted process of this ridiculously convoluted story of these two guys wanting to rape an inmate, and they choose Michael's room to do it. You wouldn't choose that room. You'd choose her room because there'd be no one else there. It's just fucking stupid.
I would have been perfectly happy if he just, in silence, stood up, ripped a door off its hinges, and just walked out.
Yeah, definitely.
That would have been fine, because they're going with that angle with the size of him anyway.
But I think the other thing as well is that one of the reasons why they've gone to his room is to basically try and put Michael in a bit more of a, not sympathetic light, but at this point he kills them. And it's like, so it's eye for an eye, basically. It's like, these guys deserve to die. Which again,
well, when I first watched it, Rob Zombie is so good at giving you people that you just fucking hate. And you hate that guy from the get go because he's next to Danny Trejo. Danny Trejo is just such a sweet character in this. And the Hicks are just so fucking hateable straight away. And regardless of how much I disliked the film when I first saw it, the scene where he just fucks them up, like crushes their heads against the wall, I'm just like, that's brilliant. That's great. That's not the character that it should be, but that's fine. That's given us an anti-hero moment. And then he straight away just undoes that by walking around the hospital and just doing anyone in that he sees. And it's like, well,
it's got what you want to be.
And we're back to square one where he's killing his dad. That's fine. but also B is killing cats and small animals. So what do you want us to...
And immediately after Michael's escape, we move on to one of my favourite sequences of the film, which is Michael Myers encountering Ken Faree as a trucker.
Keenan's dad.
Keenan's dad and him off of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
And they have a big old bust-up in the gents, and Ken comes off second best.
Yes.
And then Michael steals his truck, which is a bit weird, but it's just lovely to see Ken Faree in this setting from a sort of genre fan point of view. And then soundtrack-wise, they bring in a bit of Mr. Sandman, which, although he's from Halloween DOS and not from Halloween Uno, it's still a nice little callback.
Yeah.
But it is lovely to see Ken Faree. Yes, it's another overcomplicated, unnecessary scene where we don't need to know how he fucking gets out of there.
Yeah.
But from my perspective as a genre fan, it's nice to see Ken Faree.
After that, we finally get to the beginning of Halloween.
Yes.
54 minutes in.
And then he gets confused here, does Rob Zombie, because he spent the last hour trying to be different
Yeah.
in many ways. In the way he's presented Michael, in the way he's presented the story, the narrative. But then he does another 180, mate. We're flipping again here. It's like fucking Tony Hawk's, mate. We're all over the place. And what happens now is we have the scene where Laurie takes the keys to the Myers house, which is almost shot for shot a direct rip from John Carpenter's original. So we've gone from like one end of the spectrum to the other in terms of we want to be completely different. No, we're going to shoot this in the exact same way. It's like
Vince Vaughn Psycho all over again.
It's crazy how he's gone from wanting to completely interpret everything in a different way to, as you say, the remake of Psycho, almost shot for shot. Insane.
Yeah, I think about seeing where she like puts the thing through the door and he's on the other side waiting. I think my issue with that, and I know in the original Halloween 2 this was undone by the revelation that we'll get to later on, although it's pretty predictable anyway. The original Halloween gives the idea that the reason why Laurie is later targeted is just through simple fate. You know, there's the scene in the classroom where they talk about fate, and we believe that the reason why she's been targeted is just because she's the first person that he's laid her eyes on, that he's laid her eyes on, and
and she came into his domain as well.
And that was it. Whereas here, it's already pretty. It seems to already know who she is and all that, which I'm not even sure he'd be able to do that. In all fairness, no. But we'll get onto that later on.
Now, we in our introductions to Laurie, played by Scout Taylor Compson, in this instance, we now get into the really fucking dodgy territory of this film. In that we immediately get the sexualisation of Laurie, which is, firstly, fucking ham-fisted, and secondly, deeply psychologically problematic for the viewer. In that now, I didn't really know who we're fucking identifying with before, but now I've not a fucking clue, mate, because we've taken our sort of strong, central, moral core of the story, and we've sort of sexualised it to the point where it's almost uncomfortable to be behind her, but the alternative is to be behind fucking Michael Myers, which is ridiculous, and it's really, 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 really badly handled, and it's just so fucking like tactless.
So because in the original you've got, even though you don't know it, but you've got it's obviously the slasher film lore, which is the pure and the innocent one seems to be the one that is the last survivor, sort of thing. And the rules are set in place because that is how you identify with certain characters. And it happens in all literature. You identify with certain characters by the way they speak, what they say, and what they do. And we're introduced to a group of girls we absolutely just hate straight from the get-go because they're irritating as fuck.
Pretty much. I mean, even Laurie, although they count down a lot later on, even she starts off quite sassy. I don't like using that word, but she's got an attitude. And all that lot. And, well, it's a lot more playful later on. It's like, you know, the whole point of the original Laurie character was, you know, she was just pure, basically.
Yeah.
You know, everything about her, you know, like morally and like the way she is, she's just like...
Yeah. I think the gender politics of slasher films are quite difficult to get your head around when you really start looking at it. But I think the problem here boils down to the fact that Rob Zombie has not ever met a teenage girl.
Yeah.
And actually listened to how they talk.
No.
And I mean...
It's just badly handled.
Or unless he's been casting one anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, back onto what you were saying about genre law
Yeah.
and Final Girls and things like that. Keep listening, folks, because there's a scene later on when I'm going to lose my shit on this subject. And it's... You're absolutely right in pointing that out, because that is a key aspect to the genre and to the film that has been undermined at every turn. I mean, next up in our narrative, we get Michael Myers digging up his mask at his home.
Could I just
mate, you go.
Point something out just quickly as well, because you've got him playing peekaboo. You know, as like the girls appear, and he's doing what he did in the original. In all fairness, I think this is one of other issues we're going to be talking about later on. In fact, it literally makes no sense that this guy who's willing to kill like the school bully in open in like daylight in front of theoretically in front of everyone. Obviously, it's in the forest. So why is he suddenly playing peekaboo with this one? And it's a very jarring thing, and I think we're gonna, as we're going to talk about, it's gonna like has been slavish to the original. And there's like just making no sense whatsoever in terms of character motivations.
Yeah. There's a scene where, at this point, where Michael digs up his mask at home. Now, Rob Zombie has a go here, but the problem is he's fucked himself over already, because when did my first question is, when the fuck did he get time to bury that after he killed his sister? Because we saw before the police were on him straight away.
Neatly pick the floorboards up and
all
then
of that.
nail them down.
Exactly,
Yes.
Okay. So, but I'm just going to park that up, because Rob Zombie has a go at being quite profound here, but it doesn't work out. Basically, this sequence is sort of supposed to be quite symbolic of his metamorphosis being complete, and he's back home, and he's got his mask, and you know, everything is sort of returning to normalcy from his perspective, and he's wanting to, you know, move on with his quest, whatever that quest is. And he has a go at trying to be profound about the origin of Michael and his relationship to the mask, etc. I mean, it falls flat on its ass by the fact that he would never have had time to bury the fucker in the first place.
And he literally wore it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, if that had been less cock-handedly done, then that might have been quite a nice little scene, but it's just another question of why did he fucking bury it in the first place, and when. There we go.
We have this weird thing as well where we actually meet Laurie's parents.
Step parents.
Is this Udo Kier?
Yeah.
No, Udo Kier is the doctor.
No,
he's the doctor, because I've got him appearing at random.
Udo Kier appears to play a creepy doctor in yet another film.
That's right.
That he's not getting paid much for.
Apologise,
We should have an Udo Kier count.
Yeah, we should. 1.
So, but we have her quote-unquote parents, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, who, you know, not in the original film or anything like that, who get killed off pretty quickly.
Yes.
And I'd suggest that Rob Zombie's obsession with, like, parents getting it suggests he had a 6 out of 10 childhood at best.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. Again, it's an unnecessarily nasty sequence.
Yeah.
No fucking point for it.
Yeah. And then straight from there, we have Laurie goes to babysit for Tommy, who we meet originally, but they seem to have cut out the scenes that he originally had where he bumps into Michael Myers, which this is another issue that I brought up, you know, contradicting what's gone on with the original, with Tommy asking if the boogeyman is real.
I was going to say, he does not fucking shut up about the boogeyman. In his first introduction, doesn't shut up about the boogeyman.
But no one says about the boogeyman, because in the original you had the kids teasing him about boogeyman, then he bumps into Michael Myers right away. That doesn't happen, so he's asking about if the boogeyman is real. Why?
What's the motivation?
We don't know.
Yeah, and there is a general point I would like to make here about we talked in the Alien Resurrection episode about production design.
Yes,
So I'm going to go on rant number 1 here.
Based off.
this film, like the original, is set in a nice middle-class suburban area.
Yes.
So can I please ask, and if anybody listening to this, Mum, can help me, why do all these nice middle-class people live in shitholes with the plaster exposed on the walls and everyone's got fucking mattresses on the floor?
Yeah.
It's like, nice outside, ghetto inside.
Yeah.
Fucking why, Rob Zombie?
Yeah.
Answer me why, you twat.
I mean, that's the thing. He absolutely loves a shithole.
Yeah.
He can't seem to stand being in a clean environment for that long, which is why, like, later on, the ending sequences, which originally take place in Laurie's house, why he actually drags her back there, just so it can take place in the shithole. But we'll get to that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The another major flaw that I spotted at this point is the kid called Tommy.
Yeah.
Yep. As soon as they start going between houses and other people, somebody else is looking after the kids.
Yeah.
Someone else has fucked off. Now they're looking after the kids.
Yeah, Danielle Harris is there, and she is, and I mean, just a quick aside, Danielle Harris is a nice, you might not necessarily know this, Chris, but Danielle Harris, who plays Annie, the one with the dark hair, she, as a child actress, was in Halloween 4 and 5.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's a nice little callback to that in and of itself. But again, completely with what this is the section of the film where it all goes to shit.
So the geography is just weird, isn't
That's
it?
it.
Because
That's
I thought,
the problem.
hang on a minute, I thought the kids would have that house.
Yeah.
And
Like, because I'm a massive action film fan, especially Jackie Chan film fan, and what Jackie Chan does is effortlessly sets up geography so that you know where everything is in a scene. No matter how frantic it gets, the geography is always there. My favourite landscaping for geography in a film is Predator, where, you know, before everything goes to shit and they start shooting that encampment, which is a bit of a mess, but before that, you know where absolutely every single person is, you know where that truck is, you know where the buildings are. In this film, I have no idea which house we're actually in at any point until we get back to Michael Myers' house.
Not a clue.
But again, that goes back to the generic shitness of everywhere, and also the fact that everyone's moving everywhere, and you just switch off. There's no distinctive feature of any of the houses. Like, back to the original, the house that that Annie is babysitting in is geographically very different to the other one. It's pastiche of the house from Psycho. It stands alone, and it's very distinctive. And the house that Laurie is babysitting in is distinctive also because it has those two big pillars at the front of it, and it's a very different type of house, but everything's the same. Everything's like covered in shit and like grungy, and like everything looks the same. And I think obviously Rob Zombie's the director, and as I said before, he was hot shit at this point, and he's got free reign, so he has to take the blame. But his production designer needs to have a fucking word with himself as well.
Yeah, and get some fucking lights on so we can actually see where people are in a room.
Yeah, that would be nice. Like in the original, he starts killing off her friends in who in what house. It all gets a bit confusing. But they didn't have what was one of the cooler scenes in Halloween where Annie gets in the car, and it's all steamed up, and all that lot for some reason. No, too distinctive. We need to have boobs and people being stabbed through the boobs.
Which we have now arrived at the point I warned you both about earlier when I was going to lose my shit, and we are here.
You're going to get me another beer, Rob?
Yes, mate. This was probably where you heard most of my gesticulations back in my original Wayland Road viewing of this. The scene when Annie is attacked by Michael Myers is fucking repugnant in every sense.
Are we talking about the scene with the ghost sheet?
No, that's
before this.
If that's before, this is the one that happens in the landing of generic house number 2.
This is the one that Wilson's just alluded to with the boobs.
Right, got you.
Okay, so she's naked, first of all, and she's been stabbed very fucking graphically in the chestal area. Okay, it's completely beyond the pale, gratuitous, and unnecessary, and I don't know how the fuck it ever got through in any way, form, or shape. That's issue number 1 with this sequence, and she's laid there and she's ostensibly dying on the floor. Now, issue number 2, the major second issue, comes back to what you were saying, Dave, earlier about expectations of the genre and of knowing who your final girl figure is and all the rest of it. spoiler alert of Halloween 2,
Yep.
she survives this attack.
Yes. Yeah.
Now,
I did not know this. I've not seen Halloween 2.
yeah, spoiler alert, she doesn't die.
How?
Well, there is that, but also it makes no sense from a narrative perspective because now Laurie's not even the final girl anymore.
Yeah.
And also, you've got this poor girl who's been put through this horrific attack, and to no end, she's...
Is this when her boyfriend's also hanging from the ceiling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she's completely, mauled and savaged by Michael Myers, but she's not killed. And not to get too far into Halloween 2, because we might do that in another episode.
Probably will.
Let's just say, for Chris Wilson in particular, it's not the first time this shit happens to this character in Rob Zombie's Halloween films. And so, this whole... it's already messy as fuck at this point for the reasons that we've already discussed. And this just muddies the water to an extent where I just switched off after this. Both times I've watched it. And you cannot go fucking around with the rules of the genre that much. I get him wanting to do different things and go in a different direction, but you just don't know who's... which way's up anymore.
No, you don't.
If you're clever and tactful, you end up with something like Cabin in the Woods, where you take the genre expectations, you flip them upside down, and you do something new and clever, and everyone's like, oh, brilliant, we're on board.
Yeah.
But this just feels like he's not finished his scenes.
Yeah,
this just feels like he's not cleaned up afterwards, you know what I mean?
It totally feels like he doesn't actually know what he wants to do, so he's just going to leave everything open and covered in blood and naked.
Yeah. And again, we've got that bullshit, weird voyeurism going on.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable. And then her father character turns up, and then the scene just gets even more unpleasant.
Yeah.
Brad Dourif making an appearance.
Yeah.
So we've now got 3 likeable characters on screen.
Exactly, yeah. He's back again.
Yeah.
Yep. And he gets killed.
Did Brad Dourif get killed?
Does he? I thought he was one of a policeman.
Yeah, but he doesn't...
think he
No,
got
he's
killed.
void of appearance in the last 15 minutes, I believe.
Really?
I think he finds, his daughter's been stabbed.
I thought...
This is the point in the narrative, I believe. You see, this is indicative of the problem, isn't it? In that we've all watched the fucking film and we still don't know what's going on with it. And
I thought Michael Myers took out a few policemen.
He does, but he doesn't take out Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
Is it not him?
I think this is the
My
point.
mistake.
This is the point in the narrative, I think, where he abducts Laurie and takes her off somewhere.
Yeah.
Leaves Annie bleeding, and then her father discovers her.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Leaves all that sequence behind.
Right.
Just all open-ended.
Yeah,
and
I'm getting a
that is
headache.
resolved.
And and just point out, while this is happening, Michael Myers is... not Michael Myers, sorry. Dr. Loomis is sat in a car explaining, oh yeah, she and him, brother, sister,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with the whole Brad Dourif thing where he explains that I took that Myers kid and then put him in a rehoming thing 200 miles out of town, but then my friends who actually live in this town went 200 miles out of town to adopt a kid and they brought her back.
Yeah.
Contrived.
Yeah.
Sorry, listeners. God, okay, I'm starting to get a headache here.
Yeah.
I was going to be somewhat positive at the end as well.
Imagine fucking editing this film,
Yeah. Jesus Christ. So, back to the Myers house, because we've got to film in a shithole.
Yeah.
Why he's taken Laurie there. Well, like I said, got to film in a shithole, haven't you?
Yeah.
And they do the scene where in the original Halloween it's quite cool that they have a dead girl on the bed with a tombstone over her, whereas this time it's like done in a basement with like mud everywhere, so it looks like that a tombstone actually belongs there, so there's not even that stark imagery. It's just
with surprise chain link fences everywhere.
Yeah.
In the basement.
It's just like, so they've taken quite a striking image and it's just made it quite dull in a weird way.
Again, they've taken what made the original good, which was the horrific clashing with normality. And just making it all horrific.
And I think this is main problems with the second half of the film is that Rob Zombie feels the need to make reference checkpoints to the original film, but it doesn't actually make any sense.
Yeah,
For the most part.
He also spends so much time with the development of Michael Myers in the sanatorium and stuff like that, which is kind of okay. It's probably one of the stronger points of the film. We spend so much time on that he gets out and we get to this point and everything's a rush now because he spent an hour and a bit fucking about, basically.
Yeah, that's true. So what we have here is Laurie discovers this revelation about Michael's related through like photos just laying about for some reason. Manages to stab him, but Michael Myers
Invincible,
invincible, etc., etc. And for some reason, we end up in, I think it's the same swimming pool as the music video for Some 41's In Too Deep. I could be wrong,
but it's covered in shit.
But it's covered in shit because it's Rob Zombie, obviously.
Is this before or after she's been hiding inside the walls?
This is
slightly after.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because it all becomes a bit of a muddle at this point, and
am I right in thinking, by the way, because that sequence where she's running away from him in the house, the work print version that you saw, Sam Loomis is killed.
Correct. In the pool.
He's killed in the house, isn't he?
No, he gets shot outside.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I think the thing with the walls afterwards, Oh, it's bloody film.
Yes, it is. Yes, if he shoots him in the swimming pool, then you get in the car, then he drags her out the car into another shitty house. Right.
No, or possibly back into the same house again, and we continue on.
Yes.
So, like I said, Loomis manages to shoot him 3 times in the swimming pool.
Yep.
Boo is alive again.
Yeah.
Although another thing, reference points where Laurie goes, "Was that the boogeyman?" Which is Tommy's line in the original.
Yeah.
And it's it was a reference to Laurie says it's to Loomis in the original as well, but it's but it like literally makes no sense here because it's like a throwaway line beforehand where it's like really built up before, and like Tori's saying, "No, it's the boogeyman, it's the boogeyman," whereas here it's just like randomly pulls out the ear.
Yeah. I mean, we're so convoluted at this point, and to the listeners out there, my mum might be, there may be some thinking, what the fuck are these three on about now? But honestly, watch this film and try and talk about the last 25 minutes without sounding like a fucking gibbering idiot. It's impossible.
It's up there with Memento, mate.
It is.
Yeah.
And then they do go back into the house, and then they have a chase where she's hiding in the walls.
Yep.
And in one edit of the film, I'm sure, because Michael Myers is trying to crush Sam Loomis's head, I'm pretty sure I have seen a version where he puts his thumbs into his eyes.
Yes, that's correct.
He's dead.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
But in the unrated cut, where it's done post-sequel release, he just kind of gives his head a bit of a hug and then pushes him over.
That strokes him like,
But this is, again, not wanting to get too into Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, there is an attempt at explaining this within that film as well.
Yeah.
It's a story for another day, but it's very problematic, to say the least.
Guess what my next film choice is? Don't worry, I'm not gonna do that just yet.
And
so they do the sequence with the walls, and she's like crawling along in the ceiling.
this shit I have a problem with as well.
So just to point out as well, she's got Loomis's, I believe it's Loomis's gun at this point as well. She managed to grab that, and they end up on the balcony of the house.
Oh, before that though, we've got the stuff in the walls which is really tacked on. It feels like it's another 15 minutes of the film where she's scrabbling around in these walls, and you could have like a nice little cat and mouse thing going on here where she can run past doorways and hide in another section of the wall or something like that. But then you end up with her crawling through the ceiling, and it's the longest. It feels like one of the longest.
And he's smashing the ceiling as she goes.
It's so boring and dragged out. Like, it goes on for maybe a minute too long.
I mean, at this point, to use a football analogy, sorry, Dave.
Yes, mate.
This is the equivalent of going to see a football team, and it's 15 minutes from the end, and you're losing 5-0, and it's pissing it down, and all you want to do is go home. And just have it over with. That's how I was feeling at this point.
Standard afternoon at Blundell Park.
Home of Grimsby Town, for those.
Up the Mariners, mate, up the Mariners.
Good God.
Sorry, Willie, carry on with the balcony.
Okay, on the balcony, another rugby tackle actually. We're tackled, from the top floor of a house, onto the garden, and Laurie lands on top of him, so he's knocked out now. The sirens in the background, so it seems like it's all over. It's laying right on the floor, and she's got the gun and she decides to shoot him in the head. Does it once, just nothing. Twice, 3 times, nothing. Then on the 4th one, it does it, splats, and she screams just basically because she wasn't expecting it. Yeah,
and it is a long screaming sequence.
It is.
Screaming sequence.
And to point out that this scream is then spliced with a baby screaming right from the beginning of the film to make it look like that we actually planned this shit.
Fucking bookended. Gran Torino, this is not.
Yeah.
So that's where it leaves us. Sweet fucking Jesus Christ.
Shall we, a little bit of improv, because we're aware this is going to be a longer episode anyway. Shall we try and pluck some redeeming qualities out of this film as a standalone piece?
I had
Shall we
some.
try and be fair?
But we've battered a lot of them out of the pack. I mean, for me, I will stand by that. I think Rob Zombie did a decent job here of at least attempting to do something different in the first half of the film. I quite liked seeing Michael Myers in a different environment. I quite liked the development of him and Loomis's relationship and their sort of drifting apart. I think the little bit with Danny Trejo was nice because it sort of gave a human face. Someone showed a human face to Michael Myers rather than someone just assessing him or screaming at him or being terrified / confused by him.
But like with both of those relationships, he fucks it up.
Yeah, I thought we were doing positives here, mate.
Sorry, but yeah, go on. Yes, okay. Yeah, go on.
But yeah, exactly. No, he does. But I think that he at least tried in the first half of the film to do something different. Not necessarily always the right thing. Not necessarily, guided by anything that was successful from a narrative or anything standpoint, really. But I think at least he had a go in that first half of trying to do something different.
Yeah. Willie?
I mean, in all fairness, I don't have that much of an emotional attachment to the original Halloween franchise anyway. So I thought as far as a standard slasher / psychological horror film goes, it's not that bad. I think the problems come when you start realising that Rob Zombie's cross-referencing with the original, and then I'm not entirely sure. It's a shame I didn't get to see this out of context of everything else, but there's things that happen in the second half that just make little sense because they're like slavishly trying to, reference the original as well. But all in all, I feel like on its own, without knowing anything about Michael Myers, I think it's a perfectly fine film. Quite average.
Yeah.
I as a companion piece to the original one, I feel like too much about Michael Myers, and it all just starts to fall apart towards the end.
Yeah.
How about you, Dave?
Again, the hospital scenes I think are great.
Yeah.
I would actually have preferred to see 2 films made out of this.
Well, you do see 2 films made out of it, mate, but just not necessarily in the order you would have wanted.
Yeah. I'd like to see the first half of the film extended into a 90-minute, possibly a drama.
Maybe a TV series, mate.
Well, don't give them ideas; they probably will.
Yeah,
done one for everything else.
Yeah,
sorry, it's 7 films.
Yeah. I'd like to see, because he's got 2 halves to the film, and I just want to see. I think he did pretty decent with some of the first half. I think if you cut all that bullshit off with his family in the first 20 minutes, just have him kill someone, and then you go into the psychiatric ward, I think there you've got a very streamlined and very efficient way of doing things. It's nice to see Malcolm McDowell on screen again.
Yes.
Although he just looks a bit confused at times. Brad Dourif ultimately wasted, but it's nice to see a horror icon appear on screen. That's kind of all I can pull out of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a film that just kind of washes over you.
Yeah,
And
it
occasionally-
loses you in the last act, and you just can't stay in it.
I think it says a lot that when we've tried to describe it, even with notes in front of us, we've got lost towards the end as well.
Absolutely.
It doesn't help that the last 20 minutes of... I think I've seen 3 different cuts of it now. All the 20 minutes of each cut is... The last 20 minutes is so different. Like, there are main characters dying, there are main characters not dying. He dies in different ways, and I like the look of new Michael Myers. In some respects.
Slightly weathered.
But I like the way they treat him as a force of nature.
Yeah.
In that he is just an unstoppable mountain of a thing.
Yeah.
It kind of explains why he's invincible, because he looks invincible. But in the same vein, you've just given us Jason again.
Yeah.
Just giving us Jason Voorhees,
absolutely. Well, okay, I mean, there's some positive to pull out of it, isn't there? I guess it's Chris Wilson's turn to take the lead on the shit and popcorn.
Yes.
Yeah, so, Rob, and I'm also quite interested to hear what you think compared to when you first saw it 10 years ago, but, you know...
Yeah, how have you mellowed in your old age?
On the shit scale, 1 to 10...
Okay, on the shit scale, I have mellowed. I have mellowed because there's 2 reasons for my mellowing. One is I'm a little bit more objective now in my older age. I can divide it a little bit further from the original. I'm also aided by the existence of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So
your only occasion of drinking and driving, I think.
Yes. That was a dark day.
The only time you had to take heroin to
get through. So on the shit scale, do you know what I think? We're obviously fairly early on here in our journey in the CineMortuary. So I'm gonna keep my powder fairly dry on this. I'm gonna go for a steady 6 on the shit scale.
Yeah.
And on the popcorn scale?
On the popcorn scale, up until the last sort of third of the film, we were hovering around 7 territory, but I think that last act boiled my mind so much again that I'm going to have to go for a 5 on the popcorn scale, I'm afraid.
That's fair enough. Yes. And Dave, shit scale, popcorn scale?
Shit scale for me is a 7. It's fairly high. Every time the film gives me something that I want to enjoy, it immediately takes it away and removes it. Not out of intention, but just because they don't know what they're doing. Popcorn scale, I'm going to say a 2.
Ooh.
Because it actually... if it was a standalone film, I could sit back and just, have a laugh, enjoy it, and some of the kills I'd enjoy. But because it's so obviously of its original material, and it wants to be, it just frustrates me. It can't get away from what it is.
So we've basically swapped roles here, Dave. Is what's happened.
Yeah.
Chris Wilson has a casting vote, I guess, on this one.
I do, yeah. Right. Shit scale, in all fairness, is about a 5.
Okay, it's only mid-tier shiter.
Yeah, it's pretty mid-tier. I mean...
it's a mid-card,
it's
the JBL.
It's the Bob Holly.
Yes, that's good references. There we go. Scotty too hotty. It's a pretty average film, and it's a bit hard to watch it as a standalone film because it's predetermined to tie itself into everything else, but watching it standalone, it's okay. Let's say, apart from like towards the end, as we said, and like the geography in the second half as well, nothing really infuriated me that much.
Okay,
in all fairness, popcorn scale though, I'd say probably a 4.
Yeah,
okay.
You can't kick back and enjoy it, can you?
No, you can't. It's a very tough watch, and not for the right reasons as well. I've seen plenty of films where you're like, it's really hard to get through, but you think, fucking hell, that's a really good film. But with this, it's just annoying in a lot of places. The baby crying, that gets me. Yeah, any film with a baby crying in it is automatically on the shit list.
It's a chore to get through. It's a Kurt Cobain guitar solo.
Yeah.
There's no fucking need for that, mate. You go too far sometimes.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
So,
episode 3, and we already had our second fight.
God, it's going well.
It is.
So we should probably draw this to a close.
Yep.
We will say that we are recording these in blocks.
Yeah.
And
because Dickhead here lives in Grimsby.
Well,
Dickhead.
Sorry.
So as yet, our choices for the next block are not locked down. But have you got any inspirations that you're going to go for, guys?
I'm going to
Tease
go
the
in.
people.
I'm going to go in and say that I'm up next, aren't I?
Yes, you are.
So, what I will say is, I will get off the fence here, and I will tell the three people listening, and both of you, that we will next be delving into the magical, majestic world of Jason X.
Yes.
Yeah. Fair enough, all right. Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant, finally a film we
Yeah.
all like.
So that will be
Fantastic.
fun. It will be, David Cronenberg cameo heavy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that is the next episode.
Anything you'd like to tease us with, Willie?
Well,
Just in case we fall behind on our schedule.
we were talking about this earlier on and about the rules of what films we could pick.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure whether or not actually good films were part of it. But after getting your opinion, I think I'm pretty happy to say I want to do the 70s remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Dave, because apparently you don't like it.
I don't like it.
I will be refereeing that week,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Special
so-
guest referee Robbie Owens.
Yes.
So that is my pick for round 2
Yeah.
of
fair enough.
podcasts. And have
Mr.
you got
Walker.
any inspirations?
We might be looking at either one of the 60s or 70s Frankenstein reboots, starring Boris Karloff as Victor Frankenstein himself.
Right.
And I think some of these, I'll probably pick one of the ones that is set in the 70s,
Right.
with all the blaxploitation going on and whatnot. So we're all familiar with Blackula.
Nice.
We are.
Yeah.
But yep, Frankenstein had a fucking go at it as well.
There we go.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Plenty to bring in the casual listener there, I'd say.
Blankenstein.
Wanking. Grow up, Willie.
So, yeah, I guess we'll leave it to this week's film-picking wanker, Chris Wilson, to say our goodbyes for us.
Well, yeah, it's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Rob and Dave.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
And we'll see you hopefully next week, but maybe next year, next century.
On our occasional and infrequent film show.
Exactly.
Something will happen at some point.
Don't forget, you can follow us and keep up with all our updates at CineMortuary on Twitter, /CineMortuary on Facebook, and of course at CineMortuary on Instagram. I don't know how you do pictures of podcasts, but we're going to do that anyway.